Imagine, you're shivering at like 16,000 feet in the Himalayas. You've got nothing but a thin cotton sweater against the freezing wind, and, well, you're holding a .303 bolt-action rifle designed for World War I. Welcome to today's deep dive into a declassified military document from the 1962 Sino-Indian conflict.
Yeah, it's a fascinating document.
It really is. And our mission today is to explore a central question for you guys listening: why the human mind is still the decisive factor in warfare, even with all our modern tech.
Right, because military analysts usually measure combat effectiveness through this core formula. It's capability plus leadership plus morale plus cohesion.
Okay, but what happens to the human mind when that first piece, the capability, just, drops to almost zero?
Well, to answer that, we have to look at the brutal logistical realities on the ground. It immediately tested the troops' minds.
I mean, I'm looking at the supply logs from the source, and it's just bleak. Indian troops operating at 14,000 to 16,000 feet, wearing basically cotton. And because of the national non-alignment policy and the Ahimsa philosophy.
The nonviolence philosophy, right?
Right. Because of that, arms imports were prohibited. So they were facing Chinese troops who were moving in trucks, using automatic weapons, and pulling from pre-built ammo dumps.
It's a massive disparity.
And wait, the airdrops are what really stand out to me. A 30% success rate on airdrop supplies because they use these inferior repacked parachutes. How does a soldier even process that level of, well, abandonment?
Right, it's devastating. And that is exactly where we apply the analytical chain. A severe equipment shortage isn't just a physical vulnerability.
Yeah.
It directly leads to a psychological condition, intense feelings of isolation and fatigue.
Because every single failed parachute plummeting into the mountains is like a message telling that soldier they're completely alone out there.
Precisely. And the enemy actively weaponized that environment to break their morale.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the loudspeakers. The document mentions how Chinese forces set up loudspeakers right at the forward defense lines.
Broadcasting propaganda directly in the native languages of the Indian troops.
It's like a hyper-targeted, inescapable audio spam campaign designed to just hack your brain.
Exactly. It induces confusion and undermines whatever morale is left.
But how do you even train for an insidious mental attack like that?
Well, the countermeasure isn't, earplugs or better radios. It's unit cohesion.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
The document is incredibly clear on this. If the men are freezing, the officers better be freezing right alongside them with no special privileges.
Wow.
When an officer endures those exact same hard-living conditions, it builds an unbreakable psychological bond. The chain goes, trust leads to cohesion, which leads to resilience.
Right, because if you've ever had a boss who issues orders from a comfortable corner office while you do the grunt work, you know it builds resentment. Now multiply that by 1,000 on a freezing mountain.
Exactly. And that crucial cohesion requires a specific type of battlefield leadership, which in this case starkly contrasted with higher-level command failures.
Yeah, the source points out that higher command was struggling with gut-feeling security policies instead of expert intelligence fusion.
But the junior leadership on the ground was phenomenal.
Unbelievable, really. Like at Raison La, you have 112 defenders facing a massive assault, and only 14 survive. Or Gurung Hill, where 17 men fought to the absolute last man.
And that immense sacrifice is what allowed Brigadier Tian Reina to systematically redeploy his forces to Chushul.
But looking at those numbers, how is that extreme cohesion maintained in the face of certain death?
Well, you have to contrast peacetime command with battlefield leadership. Merely issuing an order is insufficient.
Right.
The true test is execution under extreme stress. The lesson here is that authority commands obedience, but true leadership creates commitment.
Commitment. Yeah, that makes sense. So for you listening, I think the big takeaway here is that despite these massive numerical and logistical disadvantages,
the human will compensated for strategic failures.
Exactly. Human will, proper training realism, and decentralized initiative actually saved the day. The human element carried the load when the capability variable completely dropped out.
It proves that a psychologically attuned unit can hold out against staggering technological superiority.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to mull over. If the human mind is capable of that kind of resilience against all odds, is our modern hyper-focus on upgrading technology making us neglect the psychological resilience of the human mind operating it?